Hey everybody, this is Feder from 3D Print SOS. Welcome back to the channel. Today we're going to continue trying different types of filaments on our Aquila 3D printer. And for today's video, we're going to be trying nylon. I actually bought this roll thanks to Charles Bear, a subscriber to the channel. Thank you for your donation. I don't ask for donations on this channel, but when you guys donate, I save it all up and I use it to buy things that I need to keep this channel going. So thank you, Charles. You bought us this roll of filament for us to try. So, Overture filament, I've never used it before. I see it all the time on Amazon. And it was refreshing to open the box because it came in this resealable bag, and it also came with a little print surface, a 20 by 20 print surface. It's textured, it's sticky on the back. That could definitely come in handy if some filament is being stubborn and won't stick to glass. So that's pretty cool. One other thing to note is nylon likes to take on a little bit of moisture from the air. So actually, I have it being dried for the past 8 hours in my eSun filament dryer. Highly recommend that thing. It's rather inexpensive and it has a filament spool inside, or a roll inside, which means while it's heating, while it's drying, or after, like in this case, you can just print right out of it. You don't have to take the filament out. There is a PTFE tube sticking out of it, so you can feed the filament through and you're ready to go. So I can move it from there to over here, feed it into this printer and go. Super convenient. One other thing to note is the markings on the spool are really nice. It shows you how much you roughly have left. There's little windows in the spool. There's lots of text giving you all the different settings, recommendations on it. Much better than some other spools that I've seen. So I'm really excited to try out this filament. Alright, so here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to load it up, I'm going to heat up the printer, and I'm going to actually try the ABS settings first. They should be somewhat similar to how nylon prints. And this is regular nylon, it's not glass filled or carbon fiber filled nylon, so it should be ever so gently easier to print. I guess that's why they labeled it Easy Nylon. So, alright, without further ado, let's see how she do. Wow, okay. I'll see you later. Alright guys, let me kind of show you what's been happening so far. This is actually my third restart, and let me show you what I've printed so far and the settings I'm adjusting. So first of all, the adhesion to the build plate has been absolutely perfect. I've had no issues so far with adhesion. And here is how far I got on one of the prints. Let's focus here for you. Alright, there we go. So as you can see, by the way, yes, it's a benchy. Yes, I broke this one. But as you can see, the layer lines and the layers in general were just great. They were starting out really nice. But what I noticed was actually on the front here, things started to get a little bit too hot, even at 240 degrees. And this was being printed without a cooling fan. So I went ahead and turned on the cooling fan and started the print over. And I kept everything else the same, and I noticed it got significantly better, but it still started happening. But when I took this off the build plate, look what I noticed. Absolutely zero layer adhesion. I mean, I can pick apart every single layer. What that means is it's not getting enough temperature, even at 245. So here's what I did. I kicked it up. For this one, I kicked it up to 250, and I turned the cooling fan up a little higher. So my goal here is to get layer adhesion and yet still stop this type of curling right here. So that's kind of the goal. I might have to do it a couple more times because as soon as the fan kicks on, it seems to counteract the temperature that's happening on the hot end, even with the sock. So we got to find some happy medium here. So let's see what happens at 250 and the fan on. Alright, another little update is we are on probably 6 or 7 now. Here's some of the other ones that I've been working on. Definitely having trouble finding that sweet spot between layer adhesion, a high enough temperature, and also curling up here at the front. Where I landed so far of this current one that's printing right now is 250 degrees on the hot end with no fan. That seems to produce at least the strongest layer adhesion. And also what I'm trying is a smaller layer height. So instead of my typical 0.26, 0.28, I tried 2, and now I'm at 0.18 on this one. I've also rotated the benchy to face us, and I've actually purposefully put the seam at the front, at the bow of the boat, pretty much at the tip. My hope there is that the hot end spends the least amount of time in that spot, so that it prints a little easier and without curling. We'll see what happens. So far so good, but it tends to happen towards the middle, so it's the middle of the bottom here instead of at the very bottom where it is now. So we'll see where it goes. Yeah, I'm gonna keep trying. The goal here is to make a profile where you guys can throw in some nylon, select the profile, and just print. So I mean, there's parts of this that I'm really happy with, like the layers here, and some of the details are looking really good. And I know, and the adhesion, by the way, is perfect. I'm having 0 problems with layer adhesion, which is nice. I know we're gonna lose some detail because this is nylon. It's printing at a higher temperature. PLA is definitely for detail prints, so I got to keep that in mind when I'm printing one of these benchies. It's meant to have certain details in it with overhangs, and I guess I need to curb my expectations for what I want those to look like with this stuff. But either way, I'm going to try my best to get it the best I possibly can, and it's going to benefit everybody, hopefully. All right, let's see where this one goes. All right, another update. I have been trying, and I've had very little to no success printing anything that has any kind of overhang whatsoever. Flat pieces seem to be okay, but definitely nothing with any kind of complexity. I know nylon isn't going to be the most perfect filament ever for anything that requires much detail, but it should be able to print some basics like a benchy, for example. So I'm definitely not giving up yet. I did go ahead and print a pretty basic piece. Yeah, it looks pretty good. It looks like there's some little blobs here and there. Okay, they're on the outside. They came right off. The one thing to note is the bottom always looks really good. I mean, can you see that reflection? It's it literally becomes a mirror, more so than anything else that I've printed with. You don't see any kind of layers at all on the bottom. There's just no lines. It's really cool, actually. This is a piece I designed for the Landy 4x4, which is a crawler, RC crawler, 8th scale RC crawler that's fully 3D printable by 3D Sets. You should check them out. Basically, this is a radiator that goes in the front of the truck. Somewhere here I have a fan. And you can put a fan here, and as an example. There we go. You install a fan into the spot, and it cools down the motor of the car that's under the hood. So this is basically like a radiator. I can still see that there's issues, so let's try to make it perfect. So have I found a filament that I can't print on the Aquila? I don't know. I mean, this is my best result so far, and it hurts to look at. I tried so many things, every temperature possible, both bed and the hot end. Try different speeds. Retraction doesn't seem to be an issue. There's no stringing at all. The adhesion to the actual print bed doesn't seem to be a problem whatsoever. It sticks extremely well, actually. I'm not sure what else to try. I'm going to give it one more go. This time I am going to try to enclose this area, except for half of the front. I kind of want to leave an area on top here left over, just so that the printer can breathe a little bit better. Let's see if the ambient temperatures have a role to play here. Right now my AC is on. It's about 75-ish degrees Fahrenheit in this basement. The humidity is set to 50 degrees. I do have a dehumidifier running all the time down here. Let's see if that stuff plays a role. But basically, even at 250 degrees, see how fragile this is? Even at 250 degrees on the hot end at the moment, this stuff it doesn't hold to the layer under it, and anything with an overhang, if you look at those sloppy circles, anything with an overhang just droops and can't print. Alright, one more try, and then we'll get to the conclusion. Alright, so here's what I'm trying. I have a entirely enclosed printer at the moment. It's covered on all three sides, and there's a hole left right here that I can cover as well. So I'm kind of just giving it a try. I have a light on in there, just to see if this is the ticket. You know, it's on the first layer right now, and the first layer has pretty much been perfect every time. So that's not really going to dictate anything. It gets to about halfway, and when there's any kind of overhang at all, like you saw in the previous video, there was these little holes. Actually, I might have that somewhere here. Yeah, here's the print. I promise you, it's not supposed to look like this. So it's pretty much a perfect print all the way up until these holes have an overhang, and then it just droops and curls and catches, and it's the type of effect when PLA, for example, doesn't have enough cooling. But when I try to cool this stuff, it doesn't stick to itself at all. Even if I try like 5% fan, it just doesn't want to stick. Even at max temp on the hot end here. So I can try wacky things like put in a firmware that can go higher on the hot end than 260, which I've done before on other printers. I have this A-net over here where I needed to go to like 275 on this carbon fiber stuff I printed a while back, and it wouldn't let me, so I just installed some Marlin, reconfigured that highest temp that it was allowed to go up, and it printed just fine. It just needed more temperature. That might be the case here with this filament, but I'm not going any higher on this setup. I just don't need it to. It's not practical. I don't expect you guys to do these things for filaments like this. So I'm gonna keep trying. I'm gonna try one or two more prints in this setup just to see maybe the ambient temperature is the key here. Another note is the filament has been drying for well over 24 hours, so it can't be the moisture in filament. I can say that with confidence. If this doesn't work, I'm gonna order another roll. I think that's pretty much the only thing to try to really see what the cause of the issue is. As far as my understanding, I think the settings are on point. I think it's just, I just can't get the balance, honestly, and it hurts to fail, you know? So I'm gonna try one more thing, see what happens, and then I'm gonna order another roll and test. Just keep going. All right, guys, wish me luck. See you soon. All right, so bear with me for a second here. I'll do this with you. So yeah, things will be out of focus for a second. Here, I'll put this light right here. All right, let's take a closer look. So yeah, let me show you a few of the previous prints. They didn't stay together, so let's see. Okay. Came right off. Yeah, this is, I would say this is a night and day difference in print quality. Let me squeeze it a bit. Wow. Yeah. Well, that's all it was. After all these days and attempts, my faux enclosure here looks like has worked. You know what? Let's see if this part fits. Alright, I know this isn't very glamorous, it's just on my chair here. But this is a 1/8 scale crawler made by 3dsets.com. Entirely printed, besides like the shocks and the actual things that power it, the battery, the electronics, and so forth. Otherwise, every single thing on this thing is printed, and it's absolutely massive. Let's see if this works. So this part that we just printed is actually for these links. If you could tell, these links are a bit soft, and in some conditions, when there's a lot of torque on the wheel, it tends to flex. So my idea with this is that, let me focus on this for you. The idea here is these things are kind of like a slider, and they should be a snap-on fit to these, and they will help with not only sliding on these things, but also to stiffen everything, stiffen the whole rear end. Snap, snap. Look at that. There we go, our first nylon print that's actually decent and working. How cool is that? Oh, this thing's heavy with one hand apparently. Yeah, that's gonna work just fine. I'm gonna do one more print before we get to the conclusion, just to fully, I'm so happy with this that you can't even compare. This was literally not changing any settings whatsoever. Let me see if I can show. Look at that. I know that wasn't in focus. Hold on. Come on, camera. Here we go. If I take this, snap. Now let's take this print. Nothing. I can't even bend it. Yeah. That's all it was. It just wanted an enclosure. Huh. Alright, one more print. Alright, conclusion time. Was it all a failure? No, there was definitely some success. But let me show you the latest print out of the enclosure. Perfect. It's a bit rough, but it is a 200% scale benchy. Let me show you the positive things. I'm sure you can see what happened here. It curled, it skipped steps, but if you look down at the bottom is just absolutely perfect with this nice glass-like sheen to it. Definitely sticks really well. If you could imagine it skipping this much and it's sticking without a brim, this stuff likes clean glass. As you can see here, the top is actually really decent, especially up here. This is flawless. So what I'm getting here is the longer runs, the parts that require the nozzle to remain hot and there for a while, those seem to overheat. But these smaller shapes that go faster, print faster, retract more, they're printing perfect. That was the same case here with this little radiator, and also, here you get to see the scale of this thing too. And also with these links that we talked about earlier, they seem to have printed out. They seem to have printed out perfectly with the enclosure. Not without though. It couldn't print without. So I definitely think maybe together we can come up with a better profile. I'm going to include mine just so you guys can have some baseline. Or if you guys have printed with nylon on this machine, hopefully without modifications, because that's the whole kind of point of this. You guys can share your setups and your profiles, and maybe we can come up with something that's a little bit better than what I have. So can the Aquila print nylon? Yes. Do I suggest it? No, I think this is this filament is reserved for those that want to really tinker, maybe modify, maybe make a proper enclosure. Maybe it's for printers that have more modifications than a stock Aquila. I can see that. So if you guys can print it, definitely comment down below. I'd love to know. But I think if you need this type of filament for things that would require a nylon type of filament, I would suggest PETG or ABS. I think both of those would be okay. They're similar in a lot of ways, obviously different in some as well, but PETG will have a little bit more stringing, ABS might have a little bit more warping, but in my experience ABS printed out pretty good in this exact setup without any modifications, you know, done between the two. So I know that a different brand could also make a big difference. I know carbon filled, nylon, glass filled could also make a big difference. You know, like I mentioned before, I'm sure you've seen the other videos, I mean the other things I posted right before this leading up to here. The temperature in the room is about 75 Fahrenheit, about 50% humidity in the room. I'm sure all of that plays a role. So yeah, guys, you know, I'd love to hear your comments down below. You know, I read them all. I try to reply to every single one if I can. If you guys know somebody who will find this useful, send them a link. You know, give me a thumbs up. And I'll see you guys in the comments. I appreciate you following along and watching these videos. As always, the links are down below. They're going to be affiliate links. They don't cost you guys anything, but if you're interested in buying any of the stuff that I feature in the videos, it gives the channel a small kickback, and I'm able to do more videos like this. So, appreciate it, guys. Till next time.